we go. Okay, so the recording is started. Welcome to the November 2023 Interlibrary Loan Roundtable. We have a few agenda items that were sent in for us to talk about, and I'll just tell you all of them right now, and then we can get rolling on it. We had cutting down on paper usage. What changes have you made to cut down on paper usage, and what has worked well and what hasn't? Also, checking in items owned by other libraries before returning in Clover, which is kind of a consortia-specific topic, but can also be talked about here. And then how Clover deals with lost items. Is it an automatic setting? How do other libraries handle lost items, both loaned and borrowed? And how to move lost items that have been paid for out of lost in Clover. And I can help with that one a fair bit because I know how Clover handles them. But I thought we would start with, because we have 2 hours, we can start with the cutting down on paper usage because I know sustainability has been a big topic. And I know that there are, I'm sorry if you can hear drilling, they're doing some kind of construction upstairs. So cutting down on paper usage and sustainability, I would love to hear what people have tried so that they're using less paper or reusing paper so that it has a longer life. What has worked well and what hasn't. We haven't made that many changes yet because we have not looked at our process from a sustainability standpoint, but I'm gonna mute myself so other people can talk about what they have done. Anyone? Has anyone, I know some libraries switched to not printing the requests at all because all the information is in Clover. Has anyone
Hi,
made?
April, it's Wendy at BNML.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry. I don't know if people can hear the construction sound through my microphone. Is it mute? Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we actually have just gone to a smaller slip of paper that has our logo on it, that has the request number, the date, and the library to whom it's going to. And when we started getting we still were getting those back. So at the bottom, we added, "This is for your convenience only. Please feel free to discard." And they're only like 2 by 3.
Good. I like that. And did adding "this is for your convenience" cut down on the number that we're getting returned?
I think so. I haven't heard otherwise.
Okay. And in the chat, Betsy at Bradford said they are printing on the backs of paper, printing smaller sized book straps and using them as bookmarks, which is also handy. I like the double usage as a bookmark. Does anyone else have anything?
Well, we're
Riley.
using. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I kind of adopted the system that I moved into when I took the job, and I was realizing that like we use double-sided labels at Burnham, but have recently found that a majority of our labels are incorrect. And so trying to, I think in some ways we're trying to cut down on the paper and like not be, it's just a different system that I was given. But part of the issue too is trying to keep them updated and realizing that like, other libraries add another stop or add another thing, which can make the label issue more confusing. I recently just had a meeting with Scott, let me think of his last name, Lovett, I think, who is at UV. Oh, Lovett, yes. I just went over there just to see like how academic libraries are doing it, and it's really interesting because and maybe Kat is speaking to it, but at academic libraries, like some of them have their websites, and so all of it is electronic, but for a small library like Burnham, like we aren't really able to adopt that technology, which kind of keeps us relying on paper. So I'm interested if any other libraries have, like, they get the requests online, or if it's still like through paper, or just curious what other libraries are also doing.
Okay. For us, we have an online form that state employees can use, and they can paste the citation in there or whatever information they have. I've told them before that they can use the form. They can also just email me, because both just email to me. And so it's mostly online, and then I just submit it online. We do print out copies of the request only because there's more than one of us that works on it, and that's just the paper-based system is what is working for right now. Partly because we request from out of state, and there's that whole, if someone sends you paperwork, typically they want paperwork back, so we just staple it to that and put it in an accordion folder, and that's where it all lives. I really like the idea that Middlebury has, where they use anything they can repurpose as bands, and they recycle paper. We have a big copier, so it's kind of hard to go and load recycle paper, especially we have a very on top of it recycling guy who empties the recycle bin twice a week, so I can't find recycled paper. But so we have a mix of online and paper. What does everyone else have? As is, they have a pile of reusable paper they can draw from. I used to have that too when I worked at Vermont Tech, because you have that big recycle bin that everyone puts their stuff in. You can't use anything with patron info on it, right? Do other people have online forms, or, okay, Noreen says they have paper, and you try to use the recycled paper for the back of the band. That makes sense. I've seen a lot of those where the band is as far as it can, and then there's the recycled piece in the middle. Riley.
Sorry, not to take up too much time, but last roundtable, I thought it was really interesting to see how people use temporary barcodes, like how some people were explaining that they were using the actual barcode on the book or the barcode from Clover. At Burnham, like I have a pile of these, like, reusable barcodes. I use these, but it is interesting to see how other people do that.
So we used to have stuff like that. The cards were bigger. And then they were, some of them, I think, had been there the first time I worked at Department of Libraries, and like the cards are all yellow and falling apart. And what we did, because they used to just clip the request and all the information to that and set it in. We did away with those and just started creating temporary records in the catalog and marking them so that they would delete as soon as they are checked in. And I just used the Clover request number and plug that in because it doesn't need to match up to what we have. And I'm not sure why, but I just found every once in a while we'd hit a barcode and someone had forgotten to check that item in 3 years before. So it was coming up as a lost item. So I thought, why are we reusing these when we can just use this temporary one that already exists? And if I had a barcode scanner, I could actually just scan that. But yeah. Oh, it's a cat. Sorry. Pets at meetings make me happy. Okay, so you use the cards with the barcode. Noreen said they use paper forms and are thinking of going to online forms for the librarians to use for the patron requests, but she loves having the paper as backup. And when she gets a book in the mail, she writes the address of the library they borrowed it from on the back. So it's that like one piece of paper that helps track all of that information. Because there are some that don't have their address printed anywhere in the book, which is really problematic when it's an out-of-state one and there's just nothing on it.
But at that point, we can call you up, April, and you magically tell us everything.
Well, as a millennial, I prefer email, but yes, you can reach out to me. It's fantastic. If I'm not in, you can email Linda, and she is the one who does all of the out-of-state loan magic. And she is always on top of it. So yes, you can ask us. We'll look it up. Someday I'm hoping to have our two systems talk, and then that will make it more streamlined for you as well. But in the meantime, you could just ask us. All right. Oh, and I missed it. Tracy said they use a Google form for collecting patron ILL requests. And she also takes them by email, and our patrons can also self-request on Clover. So a few different systems there. And Russell Memorial does all ILL requests by email or by someone coming in to ask in person. Their traffic is still pretty low, so it's manageable for now. Sense. Ours is also pretty low. Yes, Tenzin said it would be really helpful for them to have an out-of-state return address. If WorldShare at least had it in a way that was easy to copy and paste, I would be delighted to add that in. But they add in, it does not carry over well because they use a lot of tables and it doesn't work. If they ever update their interface to something that is easier, we can start adding those in. Or if I can get them to talk, there's hope. Okay. Well, I think, could they make it into something easily mergeable? No, because when you paste into Clover into the field, it just doesn't come across. It doesn't line up, it doesn't carry. But I can also block out some time to see what I can do with the systems. I'll put in a ticket with Autographic. They love getting tickets from me. Okay. I'll work on that and see what I can do. So Pat also thinks what's the cat's name? Watson. Oh, I like it. Okay. I think that the cutting down on paper usage is probably something we're going to revisit every couple meetings because people are always looking for ways to tweak their processes. Or I know that sustainability and the Sustainability Library Initiative is pretty big in Vermont, so we'll probably keep revisiting it as well. Anne says they have online forms for their patron requests, courier form, and other library requests. Oh, 3 online forms. Okay. Or is that just have online forms? There's a 3 in there, so I want to make sure. Number. Okay, you have 3 online forms. So patron request, courier form, and other libraries. Okay. All right. Yeah, Wendy says most of their requests are in person or through email. Okay. All right. Well, if anyone does come across like this really great idea that you've done to cut down on paper usage, or you tried something to cut down on paper usage and you found it worked or it didn't work, also feel free to share it on the ILL listserv because a lot of people are subscribed to that, and I love hearing about the great ideas that everybody does. And Wendy said that a lot of the requests are series that she prints out and anticipates their need, which is pretty nice. Oh, Betsy tried receipt tape for a while, but it fades quickly. It does. I do like that. I like when we get some that have those, though. Okay, so I guess I will move on to the next topic, which is kind of consortia specific since not all libraries can do this. Oh, and Tammy says they also use a Google form for requests. Lots of Google forms. So the next one was something that's popped up periodically, which is checking in items owned by other libraries before returning in Clover. And I think that only happens with Catamount, possibly Home Card, maybe just Catamount, because you share an ILS and you can do that. And as far as I know, it mostly happens on accident sometimes. But I don't know if there's been a spike or if we just need a general reminder. Oh, and it happens in Vocal as well. Okay. So, and it has happened in Home Card. Okay, so all of the consortia. Sorry. I don't know if it's happened in Verso. It's a much smaller group, but it quite possibly has. I asked if there's an in-transit status you can use. Wendy says it happens accidentally on their end. Henson asked in the future any plans of getting rid of address labels for courier labels and scanning a barcode so they can tell which library it goes to. Not that I've heard of. That's entirely up to the vendor. And as far as I know, they don't have that plan in place. Oh, Betsy says that they have some overzealous volunteers who are probably the ones accidentally checking it in. Has anyone found that like a really common problem? Is it something I should add to like the best practices? You know, just that every 6-month reminder, please don't check in books from other libraries. Riley says they have about 2 or 3 a week. Is it something that could be sent out in a consortial email? Maybe have the groups reach out. Happens by accident. Noreen said it's not too bad, but yes, put it in the best practices. We can add that in. Okay. Is there, I'm not sure who sends out consortia-wide emails. I'll probably just reach everybody with the ILL listserv if I ask them to check on that. Oh, Riley says the issue comes up if it's on hold for another patron because it notifies them that the book is ready. Okay. Okay. So I think for now, the best solution is I'll add it to the best practices, which means that since we send that out every 6 months, everyone will get a reminder every 6 months, and hopefully that will also help. And it's on the record in this group that I'm sure everyone will log in and watch the recordings and remember. But it'll also go out in the minutes and in the emails that I send. Okay. Wendy said that's also the reason they added the book straps. But yeah, so it sounds like it's somewhat common and is just user error, but we'll send out reminders and hopefully that will help with it. Unless anyone else has good ideas. Could make a little like animated GIF that says like the movie theaters with the turn off your cell phone and the dancing food. We could have some dancing food that says don't check in this book. My brain is on Friday time in case you could not tell. Thinks it's Friday already. Okay. You're still typing, so I don't want to change the subject. Tenzin asked, can I remind you if we have the minutes for the in-person meeting? Yes, I have highlights that I sent out, and I have it on our website. Let me bring that up and put the link in. Oh, Riley said you considered putting painter's tape over barcodes when you send it to other libraries. So that would generally not leave any sticky residue. That works. We could try the reminders route first and see if that helps. Let me get that link. All right, I'm putting the link for the roundtable in the chat. It has links to all recordings that were recorded. We have 2 meetings in the history of this group that have not been recorded. One was canceled, so there was no meeting at all. That was August 2020. And then the August 2023 does not have a recording. Okay, Wendy says they use the barcodes to fast catalog incoming books. So that might not work. And Kat says that she doesn't know if this helps, but putting book straps more or less over the owner's barcode has been helpful for Russell Memorial, for scanning the right thing. They also highlight the proper thing on the band to scan. That could work. That also brings up how one library at our last group was talking about how they put the book strap on the back because it's less likely to get taken off or torn. And also they said, especially for kids' books, it holds up a little better. I like that. Yeah, Kat said she can confirm that back banding holds up better. And Tracy said they cover the other libraries' barcodes with their book strap as well. Okay. In the back. Wendy's the one who incorporated the back bands for kids' books. I like this approach. Bessie said we all want to see the cover, and we do. I like the covers. Okay. All right. So reminders, back bands to help cover the barcodes. All right. That's good. Painter's tape. It's the backup. Okay. Is there anything else anyone wants to add in? Okay. We're cruising through the agenda topics. The last one that I received was a series of questions about how Clover deals with lost items, and they asked if it was an automatic setting. I can answer that. It's not an automatic setting. Items are marked as lost by either the borrower or the lender. And to move items that have been marked as lost but are paid for out of lost status, currently the only option is that the lender would need to mark it as checked in. For ours, typically we add a note in the lender's notes field that it's been paid for or it's forgiven, and then we mark it as checked in. There is an enhancement request in with the company to add better status updates to manage that. The ones that have been floated around are invoice sent and invoice paid. Invoice sent would say, yes, we've talked to them about this, and invoice paid would they would move it into complete because it's final. They have not put those enhancements in yet. I think they are working on those two and at least one other status update that I will get updated where in the process it is at our December meeting, which is December 5th. Oh, and Noreen asked, what do we do if we never received the book? Because you called the loaning library and they said they sent it. If it's a courier book, you can email the courier listserv to see if it's somewhere. And if it's not, I can ask Priority to do a sweep and they check the bin to see if it's there. They poke around and they will check and see what is going on in their sorting system to find it. And if we can't find it, then eventually you just have to mark it as lost and hope that it does show up somewhere. If it's a mailed book, I usually go and ask the lender if they used a tracking number because you can use USPS tracking numbers for free. Okay, it's courier. Okay, so you checked with the lender to make sure that they sent it. So the next step is to email the courier listserv to see if it's accidentally somewhere else. Every once in a while, we get some that are the label fell out or it's an old label and they don't know what to do with it. So they send it to us and we swap out the label or figure out where it was supposed to go if the label fell out. But so the first step is talk to the lender. Second step is to email the listserv. And then the third step is to reach out to me if it still has not reappeared. And I will talk to the courier and we'll figure out some things. And you said, Kat said, oh, the Iliad interface does not allow the item cleared update to go through once an item has been marked as lost. So they have to do that manually in Clover. Okay. I'm glad you figured that out. Thank you. And you also mark paid, replaced, okay to clear in all the note fields. That works. Oh, and you also get some missorted books sometimes just in the shuffle. It's worth waiting a while to see if things sort themselves out. Yes, sometimes people get something that was missorted or mislabeled and they just send it to where it was supposed to go, and that might add an extra week in transport. If you are getting missorts, please send me what you're getting, like just a number of items for whatever library, because then I talk to Priority and we talk out their sorting and what is going on, and we figure out if it's old labels or it's someone not paying attention in the warehouse and they're sorting things into the wrong bins. Sometimes it's a combination. So, but I like to keep on top of that just because we don't want people's stuff to be missorted. Often it's just another M location. Okay, yeah, I think that there's been a little spike in the last like 3 weeks of missorts, and it's been a combination of things, and I'm not sure exactly what is happening. So, okay, Noreen got a missorted book this week. It came with their label. Okay, just called the library who owns it to see where it should go. So you can do that. I have the magic login that lets me log into libraries and see where something is supposed to go. So if you're also not sure what to do with a book, you can just send me a message and I will sort out who it's supposed to go to. The same with out-of-state ones. If you email me, I can find it. And Tenzin said they got 2 missorts this week. Oh, and you're receiving Ludlows at least 4 times a month. All right. Wow. Yes, thank you for contacting them directly, especially if it's that much. Michelle said Fletcher got 3 bags, 12 pounds of books for 2 other libraries. Yeah. Oh. Bradford and Brandon. We even moved the bins away from each other in the warehouse. Okay. On the courier note, I am happy to say that the contract, which is owned by BGS and not us, so I can't route it, is the final contract is in place. So sometime in the next few weeks, I'll be able to give you pricing for the next 4 years. So for anyone watching for their budgets. Okay. Yeah, Tenzin said it's the libraries who are sending them, not priority. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes people just pull the wrong label because we still do that here. And sometimes they get sorted in the wrong bin, but I like when people tell me because then it shows me either there's something going on with the labels or there's something going on at priority. And if something's going on at priority, I cannot work with them to fix it unless I know about it. Okay. I do. Oh, the Ludlow labels. They should say Ludlow Fletcher so that it's Ludlow and Fletcher instead of Fletcher Memorial and Fletcher Free. And on the bags. Oh, wonder what they're using. There's been a batch of older labels being used lately, and haven't been able to pin down who is using them because sometimes I get emails about them and then sometimes they show up here, but it gets sorted out before I look at them because I'm not in charge of unloading the courier bin. Okay. Oh. Oh yeah, the Fletcher free on the label when it's meant for Ludlow. That's human error. And it happens sometimes. I think we still do that on accident here. Um, but yes. Riley. Can't hear you. I think you froze. Oh. Oh, Riley disappeared. Hopefully she will be right back. Riley's going to type her question. Okay. Oh, any libraries here that receive for another library that's not on the courier? I don't know if anyone from St. Johnsbury Athenaeum is here. They are still consistently getting sent items for St. Johnsbury Academy, who is not on the courier. And every once in a while, not every week, but probably every 3 weeks, we get a batch of bags that have handwritten labels for either schools or libraries that are not on the courier. And typically I end up writing a note that says this library is not on the courier, and I send it back. Noreen says they've gotten Essex High School books a few times. And Riley's follow-up was, what information do those libraries need to make the exchange smoother? I don't know what information they would need. If anyone is wondering if that book was meant for them, I can tell them who sent it. Request number, lender, and borrower. I think it comes back to the same basic information we ask people to put in with the items that are being sent. If you're not the intended borrower, you can't actually look up information on the request to send it on to the right person, and sometimes if it's not, the owning library stamp isn't there, sometimes it can be hard to figure out who owns it too. Let me bring up the best practices because that's where we listed the information that we ask people. Okay, we asked people if paperwork, sleeves, or book straps are included. Nope, that's not the one. Where is it? Oh, the suggested information to include when you are lending an item is due date, request number, and borrowing library, or a checkout slip if your ILS prints that information on there. I will say some of the missorts that we have received have had that information, or if it's mislabeled, and that helps us get things moving along to where they're supposed to be going to. Can you say that again? Yes. The best practices ask that the suggested information to include when you are lending an item is the due date, the request number, the borrowing library name, or if your ILS prints out a checkout slip, you can include that. Middlebury has gotten some stickies with just the request number, and those have been great. And then Riley said one time someone mentioned putting a Post-it on the book for the intended library. And she wanted to check to see if anyone had a preference. She typically puts their paperwork in the back, but sometimes it's not seen. And Tenzin said that the ones for that they receive that are for someone not on the courier, they said they typically call the courier library first, and if it's okay to send it through for the school library, he gives it to Tenzin to send. And Noreen asks if they should do a Post-it inside the front cover. Kat says she likes inside the front cover because that's where they look for any information. When we send things, we always put it inside the front cover. I do periodically like the hunt through the book to find where things are though, but sometimes it's in the front, sometimes it's in the back, and sometimes it's under the cover panel. And or in the back pocket if there's still one there. I know a lot of them do not have that anymore. I think generally people have agreed that it's you could put as long as the information is in there, it's helpful, like in a place that's easy to get to. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump back to the lost items questions I had. Someone they asked specifically, how do other libraries handle lost items? And I talked through what we do, which is where we just write a note and say that's paid and mark it as checked in. And I think Kat said that's what they do, and they have to do it manually in Clover. Is there anyone that does something differently? Like once something is lost and your borrower has paid for it or sent a replacement copy, do you just add a note and mark it as checked in? Do you leave it hanging out in lost? Tenzin checks it in. Tracy, Maureen, everyone checks it in. Betsy.
We check it in too, or I check it in, but it would be great to have the resolution on this and something to refer to, because there's a library who still has a book marked as lost from us that we have replaced, that they have received, that they put back in their system. And I've asked them if they would please check it in. And I get the response, yeah, but it was lost.
Oh, no.
And so the fact that it's been replaced hasn't resolved it. So if we do have some closure on this, I'll be able to hopefully get that one out of our lost pile.
Okay. Wendy said they mark it lost and paid for until it's been replaced, so they can retain the CERC records. That makes sense. I think I just leave it as checked out or lost in our ILS until we figure it out. And then when I get a replacement copy, I hand it to Cindy, who does some kind of magic with the CERC record to fix it. All right. So pretty much everyone will check items in once they've been replaced or paid for. All right. So that was my last agenda item. Does anyone have anything else that they want to talk about? I can tell you the reminder email I sent on the courier listserv this morning, which was just a reminder to please recycle old labels because they, for some reason, have been making a reappearance, and it makes it harder for the priority to sort because their sorters are used to looking for that bin code that tells them what bin to put it in instead of having to check the library name. So I think the ones that do not have that code get sent to the back of the pile, and then they have to spend more time figuring out where it's going because I'm fairly certain the bins are marked with locations instead of the library names. And so I sent out a picture that had some of the old labels, and then I had one person who asked me, and I had not thought of this, is there a best way to put the labels in the envelope? Michelle asked, how do I get signed up for them? If you send me an email, I will have you added to the listserv. It's that easy. And someone asked me if there was a best way to put the labels in there, which I had not thought of. And so I asked priority, and it's if you put them in with the bin label on the inside. Hey, I have a bag. I'll just hold that up. Okay. So the bag, this is where you put the label in. If you have the bin number down here, even if it starts to slide out, which some of them do, they can still just see that bin code. So if you have time to look at how the labels are going in, which I know that some people do a very high volume of interlibrary loan, or just do not have a lot of hours in the library to send things out. But if you have time to look at that, that is the most likely way that even if the label is moving around, it will still get sorted really quickly. Yes, and Riley said they mentioned the tape issue at the last round table. We are guilty of that. We had been taping some of our labels in. We stopped that because of how hard people said it was to get them out. So please don't tape them. I will say that sometimes if you put your return label in there as well, if the front label slides out, that book just comes right back to you. And that can cause a delay, but sometimes it also slides and then the sorters are left looking at two labels and really hoping the one in the front is the right one. And Tenzin said, what is the best way to do with when books return? Oh, when books return damaged, I usually reach out. I usually reach out to the person who returned it to see if it was damaged when it arrived. What do other people do if they get a book back that's been damaged? Do you just reach out to the library that returned it? Yes. Okay. And Riley keeps track of damage in the notes for the request when they get it. Oh, so if you receive an item and it's been damaged in transit, or if it looks like it was damaged before it was sent. That's a good way. Wendy said what Riley said. She just doesn't type as quickly. Okay, Tenzin said sometimes it's confusing if it's damaged when we send them. If you're doing it through Clover, you can add in the lender's note that maybe there's a bit of damage on this corner, or it has this damage, like this page was, or this cover was torn when you mailed it, and then that way they know that it was sent that way, and then you also have that record. So if it comes back with different or more damage, then you know what already existed and what happened while it was out. And Noreen said she writes in the notes, especially if she thinks her patron has damaged the book, and asks what the lender would like them to do. I think in this case, if the book is damaged before you send it out, you might want to just add that to the lender's notes, because then the borrower's not wondering what happened and you know what damage it had before it went out. Like if it was a lease and you wrote down all the apartment damage that was there before you moved in. And Kat said they try to note on the band if the book is damaged when they send it out. And Riley noticed that some libraries may try to communicate through the notes section, but you don't receive a notification unless the status has changed. So yes, the notes section is great for things like if it's lost, you can say my patron has lost this and then change the status to lost. But if you're just, if you still have the book and you haven't marked it as returned or anything, then it's just a place to have notes, but no one is notified that that note is there. Noreen said she makes a note on the band as well when sending items out. Oh, Riley's got, written renewal requests. Yeah, if you would like to renew something, you should just change it to renew requested instead of asking for a renewal request in the notes. Tracy said most libraries that they contact when they receive a book back with damage say that they don't inspect books when they receive them or after their patrons return them. Well, if it was not damaged when you sent it, but it was damaged while it was out, then the borrower is still responsible for the damage, even if they did not inspect the book. And Kat said, yes, please renew via the request status, because it makes the computer system so much happier. It does make the computer systems happier, but also that's the only way you're going to get a renewal approved is if you actually change it to renew request. Because otherwise no one knows that you would like a renewal because it's either in received or overdue at that point. Yes, rather than by email. And Riley said she's trying to push updating the record to show damage at their library. Oh, the catalog record? Okay. That could work too. And Tracy seconds the requesting a renewal through Clover. So yes, any renewal requests, status updates, it should all be done through the system instead of emailing outside of it. Okay. Oh, and Anne asked, how do we get a response to a renewal request? So when you do a renewal request, it moves into renewal requested for the lender, and they will go in and either mark it as approved or denied. And then it will move into renewal approved or renewal denied on your status list. You can also set up email notifications for staff in your participant record, and then it will automatically email you when it's approved or denied. And how long does a request stay in renewal pending to renew overdue? So that is the annoying part, is it will stay in that status until there is a response or until the lender marks it as checked in. It doesn't just or renewal pending to renew overdue. It will move itself to renew overdue as soon as the original due date has gone by. But other than that, it will stay in that renewal pending, renew/overdue status until it's responded to by the lender. Just in a way, I can see people are typing. Thanks, Betsy. Tracy, I see your hands up.
Yes, hi. I got tired of typing. So my impression, I don't know, I want to check to see if it's sort of everybody's and if maybe it's even sort of on the guideline somewhere, which I don't have in front of me, is that say when a library requests a renewal, it's sort of assumed, well, I'll put it this way. If other libraries request a renewal from us and we're not able to respond that same day, we're also not in a hurry for that book to be back. It's sort of like an assumed yes until we say no. I know sometimes it seems that people get quite anxious if a book is overdue and they request a renewal and we don't answer right away. But you know, there's a lot going on here, and sometimes we don't get to it the same day. Just curious if that's sort of how everybody is doing it. I do try to actually check it every day and deal with them, but you know, sometimes you can get a little behind, or say we don't want to do an entire ILL vacation because there are people who can do stuff, but I'm gone for the week and I'm the only one who does those renewals. And you know, in the meantime, we're not in a big hurry to get the book back if we're not responding. Just wondering um, how other people are dealing with that.
Sorry, I pushed the button on the cord. There I leaned on the button. Thank you. Yes, we go with the assumption it's a yes until it's no. I do know that some people like to have the renewal notification right away. If I request a renewal for my patrons, I tell them I've requested the renewal, hang on to it until I hear back, and then I'll either send them the new due date or I will tell them they said no, please send it back. And Tenzin said same thing goes with them. And Riley has her hand up. And Kat says the college also pretty much assumes it's okay unless we hear otherwise, or the patron has had the book for better than a year. And Noreen also tells her patrons to keep the book until she hears back from the library, because some work part-time and can't get back to her right away. And if it needs to come back, she will reach out to the patron. Wendy also goes with, we assume it's okay. And Riley, your hand is up, but I can't hear you. I think you're muted. Oh, your tech is having issues. Okay. Riley only reaches out if it's been more than a week or more. So to ask about the renewal. I would think a few days is fine. I think when it's a week or two and no one has responded, then it might be something. But I didn't, like you said, Tracy, maybe the main person is just out. But yeah. Tenzin does the same with their patrons, where they say to keep the book until they hear back. Yeah, and Cass said at Russell Memorial they only have a person doing ILL once a week, so it does take time. I think generally everyone goes with the assumption it's a yes until it's no. And the only time I circle back sooner than when it's been a couple weeks is if the patron asks me what is the new due date, because sometimes they get a little antsy. Does that help, Tracy?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. that works. Kat said at the college they give a 10-day window to the patron with a new due date while they wait for a response. I like that approach. I'll try that with the one person I have that gets really antsy about due dates. Yes, because even the other colleges can take some time. They can. Hey. Okay. Let me see. I was going to tell you when our next meeting is. I sent out the dates for all of 2024. I also put them all on our CE calendar in case anyone wants to mark them on their calendar or look at the links ahead of time because all of the links are there. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kat. We're continuing our swapping between morning and afternoon on the website that I talked about earlier that I did not think to look on. Unless anyone has more topics, which is always possible because we have another 57 minutes. But I like you to use the report and issue form when books are misdirected as opposed to emailing. You could do both. I file them in the same email folder and I use them all to write updates to the courier. So I'm going to say, yes, please use the report and issue form if it's convenient. Some people use that. They email me, and then some people note them on their monthly stats form. So when I write to priority, I gather them from everywhere. So I don't have a preference if you use the report and issue form or email me. And yeah, and the monthly stats form, and then all the information is in one spot. Because it does just all go to me and I compile it. So I would ask you to do whatever works easier for you, as long as I get the information. If it's happening a lot, then email or use the report and issue form because that's the sign of a bigger issue and I should pull them in sooner on that. But yeah, the note field on the monthly stats is also great. If it's like 1 or 2 here and there, you can summarize it right in there. And that way, when you're doing your stats tally sheet, you can also just write it on there to add to the monthly stats when you submit them. All right, so before I forget, our 2024 meetings are going to be February 8th. Oh, it says 10 to 2. It should say 10 to noon. We do not have a 4-hour meeting that day. May 9th, 1 to 3. August 8th will be in person and will be 10 to noon and will likely be here. November 7th, 1 to 2. They are all Thursdays because that day seems to work best for us. So yeah, the next meeting we have is February 8th and it's at 10 a.m. Please send me any agenda items you have for that meeting or any topics you want to talk about for any of the meetings. I have a running list of possible topics, but I like hearing from everyone to tell me what is on your mind with interlibrary loan and what's working great and what's working not so great that we could brainstorm ways to fix. All right. I think we're out of topics. I will send out the meeting recording and the notes from this meeting on the ILL and the Courier listserv. And I hope to see everybody again in February or sooner. Thank you.
Thanks, April.
Thanks,
It's
Wendy.
Have a great week.
You too.